We are in the midst of the greatest economic crisis since the Great Depression.
And I got fired from the coffee shop because my boss couldn't afford to pay us anymore.
In a crisis like this one, you have this new population of people who are unemployed.
It's in generally just people that aren't used to being homeless.
The immediate task before us is to cut spending to the money that is available to us.
They cut a program that is saving lives. I don't understand how can you want these men to come out of prison with a better life.
This last time they took huge cuts that they had never had to take before. Well, the worst is that students aren't able to go to school.
So if the #1 public institution in the country has students such as me, what can someone that's 10 years old right now hope for the future?
An autumn day in Los Angeles, and superheroes are parading their powers along the star-studded sidewalks of Hollywood Boulevard. Every year, more than 26 million star-struck pilgrims visit the Mecca of movies, the symbol of California's success. In the time it takes to snap a souvenir photo, they can touch the American dream or fantasize about their own 15 minutes of fame. But behind the glittering facade lies another image of the Golden State, a far cry from the hype of the dream factories. In Los Angeles, cinema is written in capital letters. Behind every film, every major production, 100,000 people work in the wings, unsung and unnamed. Harvey Schwartz founded his company 20th Century Props in 1969. In 40 years, this veritable Alibaba's cavern has made itself indispensable to the Hollywood studios.
This is a big warehouse for the movie and television industry, commercial industry. They come in and they pick things that they need for the next movie or the next TV show. We rent it to them, they take it, they dress a set. I am very handy for the decorators for all the different movies because I've got everything in stock that they can walk in and rent it right now. This is my space section. I've got my bedroom section on one side and my space section on the other. And here I've got one of my prizes. This is one of the spaceships from Space Above and Beyond. I don't know if they played that in France, but it was a real popular show here, Fox show. And this is one of the spaceships that the guy flies around. You know, just follow me. We're going to go look at the my wonderful drill machine from the movie Armageddon. And this is one of those hero props. And we've got the big drills and the big lights. And they landed this on the I think asteroid or meteorite, and had to drill into it to blow it up. It's a real fun piece. I love it. And this is for sale. I can't put it in my backyard, it's too big, so I'm gonna have to sell it.
The place is filled with a huge variety of different objects, 93,000 in all, carefully collected over 4 decades. But in a few months' time, there will be nothing left. Harvey is shutting up shop. For him, the fall from grace began in 2008 with the screenwriters' strike and the actors' threat to follow suit. Production was paralyzed, and thousands of men and women behind the scenes were left without work.
Month after month after month, business kept getting slower and slower because everybody was afraid to start up a new production because they might strike at any minute now, and then they'd have to shut down, and it'd be so hard to start up again. So most companies just stopped production. And by the end of the year, it was like no production in California. And then the next echelon of tragedy hit the United States by having the economic fallout, and all this terrible thing went on with finance. So I lost so much money I could never recoup and start up again.
To help pay his debts, Harvey has already sold half his stock. In these times of movie land crisis, his main buyers are the TV networks.
Da-da-da-da, looks like 24 inches.
Melissa Franken is a set designer. Today, she's looking for some chandeliers for a new television series.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Despite the show's success, Melissa's working on a tight budget. She has to negotiate every single dollar.
Okay. Let's see. Alrighty. Show name again?
Flash forward.
Oh, yeah. All right. Are you looking at all these stuff, or are you looking at these to compare?
All of them.
Oh. Yeah, the first chandelier, there's 9 of them. So you're talking about $50 a piece. I couldn't do that.
What can you do on those?
There's $1,800 right there on the 9 of them. 200 each. 200 each.
I don't have that money.
Your budget is way too low for us. I mean, you're doing a big production.
Whereas he's been more of a collector rather than a prop house owner or manager. So it's hard for him to let go of these things, which I can understand because as somebody in set decoration, I also like to collect stuff myself. But, so that's why it's going to take him a while to empty out this warehouse, I think.
Yeah, I'm a little attached to it because it took me 40 years to gather it. So I know what I've got, and I don't really like giving it away too far.
Harvey has already laid off half of his employees. The prospect of having to start a new life is devastating.
Got it? Yeah. You want me to go in there?
I've collected, treasures like these guys. This is the freezing cryogenic chamber from Austin Powers. This is a real wonderful treasure. I built the company to last forever. I thought it would. So I'm just totally destroyed with all of this. I didn't think I would have to go look for a job after 40 years of building one of the biggest prop houses under one roof in the world. I'm very sad. I'm very torn up. It's been very hard to sell it, or very hard to walk away.
The city of Los Angeles and its studios may have been regarded as the very heart of the world's film business for more than half a century, but today that heart is beating more slowly. In less than a decade, film production here has been cut in half. In this month of October 2009, of the 6 sound stages at Los Angeles Center Studios, only 1 is occupied. A television crew is recording a sitcom episode. Todd Lindgren is the Vice President of Film LA. He's responsible for movie permits and film shoot organization in the City of Angels.
Well, California has really lost the feature film industry. Most of the production that takes place out on our local streets is television or commercials, and there's been less and less of that as well. Feature films peaked in the Los Angeles region in 1996, and they've been on a steady decline ever since. They've been down 10 out of the last 12 years. Those types of productions, the big studio films, have gone to other countries or other states, like Louisiana, New Mexico, New York, which have incentives, a tax credit to lure productions there. Those have proven to be very successful in taking productions away from California. California, up until this year, has not had an incentive and has not been able to compete. So though the incentive program in our state began in July, we have really yet to see the fruits of those efforts. In the LA region, there are 130,000 people who are directly employed in film production. For every one of those direct jobs, there are 2.7 indirect jobs that are wholly supported by the industry. It has an overall impact to the LA region of about $57 billion a year. Had tax incentive legislation been passed a decade ago, who's to say? Perhaps the state would be in a little better financial standpoint now.
And yet the economy here could well do with the movie industry money, as the decline of the seventh art and its revenues is only the tip of the iceberg that the good ship California has struck. The economic crisis is hitting hard, and California's 38 million inhabitants watch powerless as their empire falls. With budget deficits and the subprime avalanche, the Golden State may soon have to change its tarnished name. Even the starship enterprises of Silicon Valley are shaken. Microsoft, Yahoo, and even Google have had to reduce their workforces. Unemployment in California has soared, passing a record 12%. Hundreds of thousands of homes have been repossessed in the past year, forcing many citizens into the streets. Hector Tobar was born in a working-class neighborhood in LA in the 60s. He's a writer and journalist, and now lives in the hills, writing a column for the Los Angeles Times, the West Coast's most popular newspaper.
Well, this is the Mount Washington sector of Los Angeles. And a few years ago, we had a big construction boom. There was a lot of people moving and speculating on the price of real estate because real estate was going up so quickly in value. And so someone purchased this empty piece of property here next to my house and started building a home. The people who took out the original loans to build the construction anticipated they would sell the house at a certain price, let's say $800,000 or $1 million. But now the house is probably worth $500,000. So if they had completed it. And so they can't afford to pay back the loan. And so now it belongs to a bank. And this is now one more relic, one more ruin of the California mortgage and crisis here in front of my house. There's always a constant homeless population. However, in a crisis like this one, you see more and more families. They have lost their home. You have this new population of people who are unemployed, people who have lost their businesses, who are living in their cars more often than not. A lot of people live in their cars. So it's something that is a product of American individualism, and it's also a product of this economic crisis where a lot of people have lost their sustenance.
Some of those who have been kicked out of their homes and cast out of the Californian dream have decided to join forces to confront their plight together. Camps of homeless people have sprung up throughout the state. In Visalia, in the center of the state, dozens of people have settled along the St. John's River. The small community, regarded as squatters by the local sheriff, unite around the same fire and the same faith.
We're supposed to stay in the Word of God every day. This is just the daily scripture for the day. This is what we meditate on all day, just word from God. It's not by what we do, it's by your relationship with God. It's important to me. It's important to a few other people. It's how you believe. This one camp is a Christian camp, yeah. Means to live Christ-like, Christian, to live Christ-like, sharing love for others, fellow man. I'm gonna feel it, just shoot a little shot of cold water and it'll sink the ground. Because this is cowboy coffee. Good. Right there. Adam. Up. Good stuff. This is cowboy coffee.
Life at the camp is well organized. Everyone does their share of the daily duties. Ashley Hughes is 22. She arrived here a month ago. She gives us a brief guided tour.
We have a very interesting camp life. It's pretty kick back. We just relax, and we have camp chores like dishes and stuff. This is our kitchen. This is like our bathroom sink. This is where we brush our teeth and brush our hair and stuff like that. And our restroom is there. And the river, a lot of us bathe in the river because it's simple. But we also do have a shower, and our shower is over this way. Basically what we do is there's a lot of flies because it's still kind of hot, but like those water jugs on the floor, we fill those with water that we heat up. We pour them over ourselves. We get 2 jugs per person, and the first jug is like just to get yourself wet, and then we lather and then we rinse. And that's pretty much the easy way to do it. My little area is kind of a mess right now because I haven't really cleaned, but I live back here. This is where we sleep every night, and it gets really cold at nighttime because we don't have a heater or anything, so we have lots of blankets and sleeping bags to try and keep us warm, but we still get cold.
Before finding herself on the riverbank, Ashley and her partner Seth both had a home and a job.
I worked in a coffee shop as a barista, and I got fired from the coffee shop because my boss couldn't afford to pay us anymore. Both of us had lost our jobs, so we've been looking for work, but we can't find any jobs because the small businesses can't afford to hire anyone, and the large businesses are hiring the people that are extremely overqualified. And I'm trying to start a house cleaning business, but we'll see where that goes. It's hard to get started doing anything in this time, so.
Call Charlie.
Morning, everybody.
Morning, cowboy.
I have a brand new bar.
We were sleeping in our vehicle for approximately like 2 months. Every other night, the police would come and they would wake us up. They would tell us to leave. Get out. We don't want you here. We don't want you in city limits. Go to county. And this is what they meant by go to county, was go to the river. They didn't want us in city limits.
Some are peanut butter, some are ham. I think they're meant for you and a friend.
For food, the newly impoverished camp inhabitants are obliged to rely on the generosity of various associations and religious communities who regularly deliver meals. An ex-soldier, Donnie Walker worked as a construction site foreman before being laid off. He lost his apartment too and found refuge here. He has since found work as a security guard, but doesn't want to abandon his companions.
Yeah, see, doing the work that I do in the private sector of security, it's very difficult to be homeless. And I go to the city and I have the one job, and then when I come back here, I'm homeless again. The general group of the people that live in this camp are mostly couples, people who maybe don't have degrees in any schooling, who they didn't really have a chance. And the only work that there is out there is like the minimum wage kind of work, which isn't enough to live in society. In general, this camp, it's all new to the people, you know. Maybe once before they've been homeless once or twice, but in this immediate camp, it's in generally just people that aren't used to being homeless. You know, it's all new to them. It's because the economy in California has gone down so bad that there's just no work. I'm taking this down because this is our cross right here, and this is our home, and every day we take them down, and in the morning the sheriff's department comes in the morning and they put new ones here every morning, and we just think that it's disrespectful because it's our cross and this is our home. And this isn't even a legal notice, it's not even a legal document, you know. They put it here to scare us, to make us feel insecure and uncomfortable, so every day we do the same thing, we just put it in the fire and burn it. bought this and the generator and the equipment. For my house down there is where I got it for, but I leave it up here mostly for the community. What movie are we gonna watch? What have we decided?
Hey, we have 1408 too in the tent. Let's watch 1408, babe.
What is that?
It's
It's
about
got
the
a,
hotel
like
room.
a haunted hotel room.
Who wants to watch 1408? Where's everybody else at?
No one else is here. Everybody
I
else is
guess
gone.
we win.
They don't know it yet, but this will be one of the last evenings the community spends together. On November 16, 2009, the sheriff put his threat into practice and closed down the camp on the St. John's River. For more than a year now, the Golden State has been in serious decline. The economic crisis not only tips the most fragile over the poverty line, but affects the lives of every single Californian. Every day, men and women have to fight for their jobs, their salaries, or welfare benefits. The recession is well and truly here, and public finance is suffering accordingly. In Sacramento, the state's political capital, the coffers are empty.
Members and guests, the governor has arrived to the Assembly chamber. Join me in welcoming Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger.
On June 2, 2009, the governor of California, Arnold Schwarzenegger, called an extraordinary meeting of the state legislature.
California's day of reckoning is here. We are in the midst of the greatest economic crisis since the Great Depression. And because of that, and because of California's outdated and volatile tax system, our revenues have dropped 27% from last year. Our wallet is empty, our bank is closed, and our credit is dried up.
As a consequence, California faces a colossal $42 billion debt, for a total budget of $60 million.
A lot of the tax revenue comes from property. And so people were buying and selling lots of property, and so the property tax revenue was funding state government. When the real estate market goes down, the funding from the property tax goes down. Also, a lot of it comes from sales tax. When people aren't buying and selling things anymore, the sales tax goes down. And so all of those things have contributed to there being a deficit. It's very much linked to the economy, and that's what's affected the budget.
To the flag.
Nothing is going right for Schwartzy. In addition to the critical economic crisis, the Republican governor has to deal with an Assembly and Senate with Democrat majorities.
Privileges of the floor.
Decision-making has become an even tougher process than usual.
The entire nation will be watching how we react and respond to this crisis. Last week, Paul Krugman from the New York Times wrote that California is at a state of paralysis and that our political system has failed to rise to the occasion. People are writing California off. They're talking about the end of the California dream. They don't believe that we in this room have the courage and the determination to do what needs to be done, or that the state is even manageable.
In California, to approve any new tax or change anything in the tax law, you need to have a vote of 2/3 of the state legislature. California has a Democratic majority, but it's only 60%. So the other 40% of the legislature can freeze anything. So you have a few radicals in Sacramento who don't want to pay any new taxes at all, or who want to cut government spending, spending for the homeless, spending for the elderly people. They want to cut it and cut it and cut it. And those radicals can decide because they have control over that 30% that needs to get for the law to get passed. I think Arnold Schwarzenegger was a centrist. That was his whole reason for being elected. Unfortunately, he's the centrist in a party, the Republican Party, that doesn't want centrists anymore.
Politically paralyzed and incapable of voting major reforms or finding new solutions, the state has no choice. It has to make drastic savings. The budget has been slashed, cut by $20 billion.
The immediate task before us is to cut spending to the money that is available to us. I see the children whose teachers will be laid off. I see the Alzheimer's patients losing some of their in-home support services. I see the firefighters and the police officers who will lose their jobs. I see the pain in their eyes, and I hear the fear in their voice. And I hear the demonstrations outside of our capital. It's an awful feeling, but we have no choice.
His voice may have trembled, but the former movie star's actions were still pretty dramatic. No sector of the administration was spared from the Terminator's cuts. Some national parks are closed during the week. Beaches are left almost without surveillance, leaving visitors at risk. And health centers see longer and longer lines forming as they tighten their belts. But the principal victim of the massive cuts is education. In the United States, each state is responsible for its own education system. Schwarzenegger had devoted almost half his budget to the sector, 33 billion euros. In 2009, this was reduced to 12. In the public universities, the discontent was clear. In September, students and teachers took to the street to protest against job losses and increased fees, penalizing students from less privileged backgrounds. But in vain. At the University of San Francisco, the students and professors are understandably bitter. Enrollment fees have risen by a third, and in order to keep their jobs, staff members have had to accept sacrifices. At the age of 53, Brigitte de Villa has been teaching law since 1994. At the start of the 2009 academic year, she learned that she was obliged to reduce her teaching hours.
So we have something called furlough days, and they were instituted in August, but it's actually better than the alternative, which is cutting people. So a furlough is a day that you have off. So I have a 10% pay decrease, and I'm working 10%. And also it's very hard in this class where there's a lot of freshmen and sophomores in a government class. What do I leave out? You know, do I leave out civil rights? Do I leave out civil liberties? What part of it do I leave out? Because I can't cover everything in the same amount of time.
Thinking facilities cleared out.
Well, I think I'll probably be here like another 2, maybe 3 semesters, and then I actually have options because I have a law degree, so I can go back to practicing law, unlike my other colleagues with PhDs who are pretty much stuck teaching history or English or whatever.
On the other side of the campus, students have decided to express their concern by literally burying their public education. They celebrate La Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, a popular Mexican festivity.
Graves basically represent is like the death of our educations. But there's we have rest in peace buttons all around, and these are the classes that have been cut, and we're trying to get people aware that a lot of these classes are being cut, and it's kind of really getting away with our education. So that's what we're trying to do.
Brigitte de Villa takes part in the ceremony too. One way of demonstrating her disapproval of the budget cuts.
This one is from the College of Ethnic Studies, and it's the class on criminal justice. It's been cut because the legislature decided not to fund us at our regular level, and actually we've been cut back so often that we don't even have a budget that you can actually run a college on. So the students now are getting very, very shortchanged, coming now, and it takes longer to graduate. They can't get the classes until they're offered. They have to wait sometimes 6 years so that they can finally graduate. So it's very sad.
Muchas gracias.
I went to school in the 70s, and at that time there was we had just gotten out of the civil rights movements, including the Chicano Movimiento, and it was really alive with possibilities. I'm the first one in my family to ever go to college, And it's because of the UC and the CSU system. So the tuition was free, the fees were minimal, and it was possible for anyone to get an education. And now my students don't have the same thing. You know, they're paying so much money, they have to get loans, they mortgage their future with the loans.
The public university's funeral continues long into the night in the streets of San Francisco. Students and professors join with the locals in a festive homage to the dead.
Not incarceration, education. Not incarceration, education. Not incarceration, education. Not incarceration, education. Not incarceration.
It's meaning that education should be accessible to everybody, pretty much.
That's the antithesis of what California was supposed to be. California was a place where you always got taller. My father told me this from Guatemala. He said, I came here to California, and you are going to be taller than me, and when your children grow up, they will be taller than you, and their children will be taller, because California, the United States, makes you taller. And I don't think California is making its sons taller anymore.
Californians have lost confidence in their university system, once lauded as a model of social integration and betterment. The proof can be seen by crossing the bay and heading for Berkeley, regarded as the jewel in America's public education crown. 21 Nobel Prize winners have studied here, a mark of excellence that is no protection from budget cuts. In 2008, Ramon Quintero decided to go back to his geography studies. For this young 30-something divorcee, the increase in fees was a disaster. In just 1 year, they rose from 4,400 to 6,400 euros.
Back in August, I was going over my financial aid package, and I noticed that I was already in debt $15,000. So I used to live at the University Village, and since they increased the rent because of budget cuts, and they increased tuition because of budget cuts, and the cost of living just went up, but the financial aid that I get from the state of California and the federal government did not increase, but it actually decreased. I did have a job, and I was working for the transfer reentry program here. But because of the budget cuts, I was laid off. So when I came back in the fall, I found myself unemployed on top of everything else that I had already mentioned. I'm actually applying for a job right now, and I've been looking for a job, but it's so hard. There's 30,000 students in this campus, and they're all looking for a waiter job.
With no money, Ramon had to give up his room on campus. He's been living since then in a camping car some distance away.
Well, this is my home here in Berkeley. This is what I come every night to. The only thing that this place provides me is a space where I can sleep for 7 hours and go back to school. If you look at this, it leaks. So this water is from today. It's from today's rain, and it comes through here. It's $1,500. This is what you get. This is supposed to be a refrigerator, but it doesn't have any electricity, so I use it as a storage for some food and just clothes. This stove right here does not work, so I can't cook here. But I use the stove to put my underwear, because there's no storage room. So if the #1 public institution in the country and in the flagship of the University of California system has students such as me, and under these conditions, what can someone that's 10 years old right now hope for the future?
The University of California is one of the gems of the state of the United States, of the world. It's California's one of its most precious resources. Nobel Prizes, just an amazing resource for the state. So there's a struggle taking place now over the future of the university. Will it continue to be affordable and available to working people in the state of California? The University of California, I'm a graduate of the University of California at Santa Cruz. And also I have my master's degree from another University of California, the University of California at Irvine. That was the vehicle by which anyone could enter the middle class, right? And it's another one of those institutions that's being threatened by this fiscal crisis that we're living through.
In an attempt to balance his budget, Governor Schwarzenegger has also hit the prison system. California has 33 penitentiaries, all of them overcrowded. 167,000 are squeezed into accommodation designed for just half that number. The overpopulation cost the state dearly. With a prison budget deficit of €1 billion, the governor decided to slash the rehabilitative programs. Their funding was reduced by more than a third. NGOs were the first to be affected, such as the Amity Foundation, which organized therapeutic community programs. Previously operating in 7 institutions, they were reduced to 1. Its action in favor of rehabilitation continues outside prisons, however. In Los Angeles, it runs a community called Amistad. 157 men and 30 women relearn how to live at liberty and attempt to find their place in society. Discipline is strict. No alcohol, no drugs. Twice a day, the students, as they call themselves, get together to talk and listen.
Good morning, everybody. As you guys may or may not know, there's been a really big budget cut in the state of California. And treatment programs in our prisons were cut, eliminated. And so that equals less opportunity for people to get their lives together. So that bothers us.
After this morning's meeting, the most energetic head for the basketball court at the neighboring university. Among them is Donde Freeman, who joined Amistad 10 months ago. At the age of 49, he has spent half his life behind bars for homicide and armed assault.
We come every Saturday. You know, it's to break up the stress from the week, because see, during the week we have a lot of curriculum going. You know, we got the seminars, workshops. Every prison is the same. I've been to Soledad, I've been to Tracy, I've been to Lancaster, I've been to Donovan, I've been to Pleasant Valley. You know, all prisons are the same. They're the same. They run the same way. Every prison is overcrowded today. And in Donovan, you know, it was like they got beds in the day room now. They got beds in the gym now. You know, and the gym is for recreation. It's not for people to sleep in. You know, it's not equipped for that. You know, and that's how a lot of people get sick. You know, and then when you complain about it, you get in trouble. You know.
For a long time, Dante was a member of one of the numerous gangs that rule over prison life. But one day he decided to abandon violence and seek redemption.
They gave me a nickname in Donovan, in Amity. They called me Mr. Amity because I started really believing in the process. I started actually believing that there is something better out there in life, you know? And I just started pushing myself, you know? I started pushing to God. And then when they started understanding what the process was about, you know, see, it's easy for us to get in trouble, but the hardest thing for us to do is to change our life.
Changing one's mentality is the first step towards breaking the vicious circle of recidivism and thus reducing prison overcrowding. At least this is the opinion of Doug Bond, who watches over this haven of peace.
There are studies done that say if you go and complete the program inside of the prison and transition into the community and do 6 months in the residential treatment, then you have a 77% chance of not returning back to prison. Whereas it's almost the exact opposite if the individuals do not get the in-prison treatment along with the residential treatment. Most of our funding comes from the California State and the Department of Corrections. We've been greatly affected due to the cuts recently. I think it's a short-term fix that they can cut them right now and save money, but the long-term costs and the costs to society are much greater. I think if people aren't allowed the opportunity to change their lives and learn how to live a new life, that they're going to continue that cycle of going back to prison, and their children, their families, and the larger community will be affected by this.
This is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot.
And now, The Roy Ashburn Show.
Economizing on the support given to ex-cons is therefore counterproductive, a point of view not shared by Roy Ashburn. Like every Saturday afternoon, he's presenting a highly conservative-minded talk show on Bakersfield's radio KERN.
It's interesting to me, the same liberal politicians are completely opposed to strong anti-crime measures when it comes to murderers and rapists.
On security issues, Roy has clear-cut views. He defends his opinions on the political stage too. When he's not broadcasting on the radio, he heads for Sacramento and dons his state senator costume.
Rehabilitation has not been that successful. People who have a lifetime of crime normally don't change their ways. Some will, and we need to do a much better job of identifying those particular individuals who have the highest potential for rehabilitation and to change their lifestyle and their behavior. But again, California is so big, we have so many people involved in the prisons and the criminal justice system that it's extremely expensive to try to provide education and job training and all of those services that would lead to successful rehabilitation.
They cut the program of Amity and Donovan to save money. To save money, believe that? But I'm a strong believer of if something's working, why take it away? You know, if it's saving lives, why take it away? That's something I don't understand. When I found out that they shut it down, I cried. I literally cried because I know the hard work and sweat and tears that it took to get that program up and running. I don't understand how can you want these men to come out of prison with a better life, and the exact thing that's giving it to them you take away.
Despite all these sacrifices, Californians have not yet reached the end of their suffering. In 2010, the state will still be in deficit and belts will have to be tightened even further. Some people, though, have alternative ideas for saving the Californian economy. One miracle solution is profiting from drug money. In 1996, California legalized cannabis for therapeutic purposes for patients with cancer, AIDS, and other diseases. Hundreds of cannabis shops, also called dispensaries, have sprung up on Californian shopping streets.
So our first page is our hashes and our concentrates right here. Everything we have in this book is going to be before tax. This is our recommendation here. It's called Quirkle. This is the name. They're all named how they are. And these are going to be our prices here after tax. So just so you know, these prices are before tax. The wall is going to be the final price you're going to pay. The smallest is a 1/2 Then we have an 1/8 right here. This is our size of an 1/8. It's $44. That's like a good one. Yeah, they're all.
To buy a treatment, a cannabis patient ID card is required. About 400,000 patients benefit from the Magic Passport.
just show your card at the door, which is a patient's cannabis card of identification. I'm blind in my right eye. I have second-degree cataract, and it helps subside all pain in my eyes. It helps me to sleep, and it just helps. Cannabis is a beautiful thing, and it just helps my whole body to relax when I need to really relax.
In reality, cannabis is pretty much available to anyone. As for the price of a consultation, certain doctors are disposed to prescribing it even for a simple migraine. Marijuana for medical purposes has today become big business. In Oakland, the city has even imposed a sales tax. It has also authorized the opening of a university devoted to this miracle remedy. Over 13 weeks of evening classes for the sum of €330, a student can learn all there is to know about setting up a lucrative cannabis business.
So in our mother, we're going to be looking at choice cuttings that will be good to propagate. So you will want to start off with a top cutting that has good fan leaves, at least probably 3 to 4 internodes that you can pick from. So I take this cutting. So what you want to do first is to relieve the plant of some of the leaf mass. I grab it close to the bottom so that I'm not bending the stem as I'm trying to stick it into my cube. You would spray your cutting with water and place that on top.
I'm not really sure what my expectations were. I just came into it with open eyes to learn as much as I can about the industry because I see a potential for, profit and for a potential business opportunity in this. I see more opportunities currently than there is in my field, definitely. With the recession, construction is pretty much dried up.
Yeah, I want to open up a cannabis club. I'm actually coming up on a considerable amount of money, and I just want to. That's the only thing I've ever wanted to do in my whole life. So even when I was a little kid, I've been smoking for a long time. So
it's very similar to liquor license, and you might see certain states, Texas, wet and dry. So you can go in one county and you can buy it, and you go into another county and you can't.
The Cannabis School's president is Richard Lee, himself a consumer for medical reasons, and the owner of a dispensary. A few months ago, Richard launched a petition to obtain a referendum in 2010, aimed at legalizing the sale of cannabis to everyone and not only patients. To this day, he has gathered some 350,000 signatures. Like with tobacco and alcohol, the taxes raised could be used to swell the state's coffers.
We think taxing and regulating cannabis could help the economy in 2 ways. 1, from the tax revenue, and 2, from the savings on law enforcement. The California Board of Equalization just did a report where they estimated the state would bring in about $1.5 billion from tax revenue, and also would save about $1 billion from law enforcement and prison costs that wouldn't be needed anymore. So that's $2.5 billion right there. And then there would also be other indirect taxes and benefits from jobs created and other ancillary businesses, from tourism, from hotels and things like that. And we're only talking about it could bring in a couple $2 billion. But, every bit, is a big step in the right direction. And then the more people that are gainfully employed as opposed to costing the state money, well, who knows how much money they're going to, how much they're going to help the government and the state, in the future.
Legalizing marijuana to make money, that's just the latest version of an argument to legalize marijuana. The one before that was, for medical purposes. But really, the original one is the real reason why people want to smoke marijuana, because, it's part of their lifestyle. It's not a serious argument, really. It's, and it has, I think there's still a cultural battle at work there, because a lot of people think of marijuana as something that reduces productivity, that would be one more sign of a culture in decadence. That would be California entering another level of decadence if we legalized, this drug.
Marijuana may ease some of the Californians' woes, but it's not enough to heal the Golden State. As experts claim to see a certain national recovery, it's been announced that in Sacramento, the next budget will be €13 billion in the red. It's also estimated that the decline of the Californian empire could continue until 2014. Arnold Schwarzenegger will leave office at the end of 2010. Contrary to his promises, he has not been able to reform the state. But even on the brink of economic disaster, even paralyzed politically, California still retains a part of the dream.
It is a place where there is that entrepreneurial spirit still, and also this cultural and personal freedom and creativity. So I think that those are things that continue to make California a dynamic place and a place that's important in the history of the world.